Life is a journey of people, places, and perspectives. Welcome to Eyes on Eve, a special series spotlighting women leaders around the islands of the Bahamas and their work in the community as they continue to agitate for social and economic empowerment. This series is brought to you by the National Women's Advisory Council of the Bahamas, the Ministry of Social Services and Urban Development, and the Department of Gender and Family Affairs. The Bahamas is an archipelago of islands connected by our faith in God and our culture. Each island still has a uniqueness that makes traveling around the Bahamas an adventure. Today, our journey takes us to Grand Bahama Island. Let's meet our special guest, Minister Stephanie Burrows. Welcome, Minister Steph.
Thank you so much. Thank you. It's such a privilege to be here today. And thank you, Mrs. Hart, for inviting me. It truly is a privilege.
Well, Eyes on Eve, our eyes are on you, Minister Burrows. You are doing a wonderful work. But before we get into your work, tell us a little bit, because I didn't introduce you, because I wanted you to tell us a little bit more about who you are and how all this work began.
Oh, very good. Thank you so much. My name is, like Mrs. Hart said, Stephanie Burrows. My husband is Reverend Dr. Elvis Burrows, and we are the pastors at Central Zion Baptist Church in 8 Mile Rock, Grand Bahama. Mm-hmm. And I have 7 adult children and 1 grandchild. And it's such a privilege to be a mother, a wife, a pastor's wife. You know, the hats just keep wearing Mrs. Hart.
I could only imagine, and it requires delicate balancing. Yes. And so with all of this balance, you have started a ministry, an initiative, a community initiative that caters to literally, I think now you probably have serviced almost over 1,000 girls as yet, or yes, probably very close to, if not.
Over 1,500.
Oh, wow. So tell us about the Princess Court. I remembered when it first started, but the genesis, give us the real genesis behind the Princess Court and what motivated you to start this particular ministry.
Yes, my husband and I were studying at the Southern Baptist Theological Seminary in Louisville, Kentucky. Mm-hmm. And I went to a women's conference, and, you know, I wanted to be able to improve myself and to learn as much as I can since I was away with my husband studying. And so I went to this women's conference all by myself, and it talked about purity and purity in women. And as the lady spoke, her name is Ivy Lee DeMoss, as she spoke, it just registered into my heart that I needed to start something with the young girls in Freeport, Bahamas when I got back. And so that is how it all started. And that was in 2003, but I got back home in 2006. And the Princess Court Ministries began in 2008. And so, Raquel, you know, I wanted to say that to encourage someone that although God may birth a vision into your spirit, into your mind, as He downloaded, you write the vision down.
Yes.
Make it plain for yourself, seek wise counsel, but mostly pray and ask God for direction. Now, I got that into my spirit, and it wasn't until 2008 that it actually began. And when I began, it was at our church in 8 Mile Rock, and I spoke to my pastor, my husband, about it, and we talked, and he said it was a good idea. And I spoke to some of the ladies in the church. And so I had 4 ladies at the time that I had spoken to, because we said that we would teach the girls how to bake, how to sew, We teach them some Bible lessons, and we teach them some dance. So we talked about 4 classes. And so I went to 8 Mile Rock that Saturday after we had our meeting to say how we were going to begin. And the ladies showed up, and lo and behold, there was about 25 girls. And I was so excited because I had decided within myself if it was just the 4 ladies or if they did not show up, it would have been me and my 2 daughters, and we were going to start the Princess Court.
Wow. Now that is indeed a journey, and I call it process, like you said, from the vision having been birthed so early on before it actually became into manifestation. And so sometimes we get discouraged between the vision and the actual manifestation and how it's going to be done. And even on the day of, when you started, you were still hopeful that this is going to happen no matter what. And so you mentioned earlier that you now have had the opportunity to minister to some 1,500. And I think you also mentoring some other leading ladies around the Bahamas who have started also Princess Courts as well. And you are guiding them through this process. Tell us a little bit more about that.
Okay, so as we started the Princess Court, that the first year in 2008, the first session was with about 25 girls. And by the time we were at the end of that session that year, we had 75 girls and 10 ladies. And so as they heard about it, ladies were encouraged to come to help and assist in the Princess Court. And so we had another meeting because we see now where we had to divide the girls into age appropriate categories. And so now we call that chambers. So we have the princesses divided into 4 chambers. The first chamber is age 5 to 8, which is the little darlings. 8 to 11 are the daring damsels. 11 to 14 are the feminine flavors, and 14 and up are the modern maidens. And the instructors, mentors are the leading ladies. And we have our scripture, which we call the Princess Precept. I am fearfully and wonderfully made. And we also have a pledge. The pledge did not come about until about the 2nd year. I was laying down and God just downloaded again into my spirit. And it said, G-O-D. I pledge allegiance to the princess, to God and the Princess Court. To G, give love. O, obey God's word. And D, discipline my mind and body. Because it all begins in the mind. And if the mind is disciplined, the body would follow. And so,
Well, I can tell as my daughter having, I think the first year, she was a part of the
it was the 2nd year, and
the
she
second year.
became one of our mistress of ceremonies.
So I personally can attest to the impact of this ministry. And I know some of the students, or what I should say, attendees, who are now also, I call it what you call them, junior leading ladies.
Leading ladies in training.
Okay, the leading ladies. And so that speaks volumes of the impact of what your ministry is having. Because sometimes, there are organizations that just operate, but in terms of being able to measure impact, and if it's aligning with the vision that in this instance God would have given to you, based on the results, that what God has given to you is truly manifesting itself, because the young ladies are, they have taken that pledge of purity very seriously. And I know you're one, and even though they may have, I would call it graduate into an older age grouping, you still follow up. I know that because I get my calls and okay, I need to find, and how is she doing, and what is she doing in school, and all the rest of it. And so when we talk about community, I mean, this is really community work at its most intimate level. And for persons who are watching us who may not know the layout or the demographics of Grand Bahama, even though the Princess Court caters to all young women throughout the length and breadth of Grand Bahama. Its primary location is in the highest and most densest population within Grand Bahama. And if I'm to be correct, I stand to be corrected, in the Bahamas.
Correct.
And so you are in the heart of a real community that have some real needs, particularly in the area of purity. And so the work that you are doing, what fuels your fire to keep going every year to cater to this? And I mean, every, I call it year end session, becomes a little bit more elaborate and elaborate. Because if they only can see what I see. I know we've done on the celebrate, was it carnival celebrations?
Celebration cruise line.
Celebrations.
Yeah, the
And
princesses had lunch. Raquel, it was over 500 of us on the Celebration cruise line. What fun! I can remember when we were going on the cruise ship, I divided the girls into groups so that they can be with each leading lady. And one of the girls who was holding my hand as we walked on the ship, she looked up and she said, "We are really going on that? That's a ship? Gee, that is just so big." So they were excited. For many of them, that was the first time, and I pray not the only time.
well, there you have it, because I don't even have to now ask that question. What are some of the highlights? Because based on what you're doing, besides teaching them, and I call it's almost like, back in the day, we would call them like Dorcas clubs, where you taught the young women, as the Bible has admonished us to be able to teach them these things and how to be wives and how to be mothers. So they're teaching, you're teaching them to bake and the sewing and the other, the hygienic aspects of life, and how to keep themselves for their husbands. And so, but you're exposing them as well, for many of them who may not have ever had an opportunity to go certain places. I know of, they were at the castle. And, for many of them, perhaps like, wow, because like I said, if persons understand some of the background of some of the young girls and where they come from, it's, for them, that is actually a release for them to escape some of the challenges that they're faced with at home. And last year, I think it was with Lady Mrs. Minutes, rather, the Prime Minister's wife. And, love to see the young ladies with their father and the daughter-father dance. And, it's, hold on, it makes me feel like I want to be 13 or 14 because it's just a moment for many of them. And in some instances, they had fillers, uncles or brothers or other men from within the church who would just step in. So no young girl feels alone. And that in itself, you cannot begin to explain. You said you got this download from God as you lay down, but did you realize the impact of some of the activities that you were having, how it would transform and change not just lives but communities? Did you ever consider that?
In my wildest dream, I never thought that God would have blessed this ministry as such. We were able to travel to Nassau to visit the Governor General when we had Mrs. Margarita Quinlan in office, and the girls were so excited to go. They thought they were going to see the Queen. And then we also had a princess ball, and we had Mother Pratt come and speak to them. And so, and then you talked about the father-daughter banquet, which was really another highlight with the Prime Minister's wife, Mrs. Minnis, yeah. And so we were just trying to expose the girls as much as possible. We also had flash mobs where we had 200 girls in the downtown area just to perform a dance. And we got a lot of attention like that.
Wow. I can only imagine the lives that have been transformed by just that. It's a few short weeks, but I can only imagine the transformation. And sometimes we take no consideration to what it is that we're doing. And I want to say to you, on behalf of the National Women's Advisory Council and the Department of Gender and Family Affairs, we see you, we salute you, we celebrate you for what you are doing here in Grand Bahama and the impact that you have and will continue to make in ministry. And we want to hear next time that you're up to 3,000 girls. And I'm sure that won't be long before
Yes,
you reach the
yes,
3,000, doubling
yes.
where you were at. And I'm
Well,
quite so.
Raquel, I might say we might be to 3,000 because, as you had alluded to earlier, the Princess Court is now in Fort Charlotte, Nassau. The Princess Court is in Smiths Point, right here in Freeport, Grand Bahama. And one is now in the making in Young Husband Drive, right here in Grand Bahama. In Nassau, we have Minister Stephanie Frith. Here in Smith Point, we have Mrs. Brenda Bannister, and at Young Husband Drive is Mrs. Thompson. And so we are growing, and it's not just an 8 Mile Rock. And I would like to see it in all of the islands in the Bahamas.
Well, this is what Eyes on Eve is all about. And so there are a number of other islands who are being featured. And I'm sure when they see you and hear this, so at this time, please leave a contact. We will put it up on the screen. So Andros, Cat Island, Ragged Island, Aquins, Eleuthera,
Abaco,
Exoma, you're listening in.
yes,
Abaco, please contact Minister Stephanie Burrows. She will be more than willing. And of course, based on the impact, she is capable of being able to guide and direct and create that framework for you to establish a princess court on your island. And so give
amen.
us your contact information so we can have it there on the screen, because we don't want to continue the conversation. We want to make sure they can find you so that this ministry continues to expand.
Contact me at 351-8311 or email STEPHONEY, Step Honey 001 at hotmail.com. Or
That's it.
242-351. It's the phone number again, 351-8311.
But there you have it. So you know how to reach her. There is no excuse. If you're looking for something to do in your community and not quite certain what to do, there is a framework already established. All you have to do is be willing, and she is able, and she will be there. Now, I say that on behalf of her, but she's here and she didn't say no. So
Oh yes, please, please, please contact me. I'd love to have a princess court on every island in the Bahamas, because what we're trying to do is cut the teenage pregnancy in the Bahamas. Teenage pregnancies produce poverty. The children don't grow up with all of the facilities and the benefits that they would like. So if we could try to get the percentage of teenage pregnancies or eradicated, it will be very good. So that is what the number one thing for the Princess Court is, to encourage girls to remain sexually pure before and extra after marriage. I'm telling them, to enhance their spiritual lives and to become godly homemakers.
well, thank you for that. And we want to segue into this question, a very interesting question as we're celebrating National Women's Week. What are your views on the progress of women here on Grand Bahama Island? Now, because you're the hand that rocking the cradle in many instances, and you're watching them grow. You're grooming them, and as women, how do you see our progress here on Grand Bahama Island?
I think we are beginning to make good inroads, Raquel, because we have women judges now. We have women who are in high positions on the police force. We have women who are in politics, and we have a lot of business women who are already in the trenches and those who are coming up. And so I think we are doing very good when it comes to women making their impact on this island. And even from the Princess Court, we have girls who have already been Miss Grand Bahama. We have princesses who are now policemen. We have princesses who are in medical school to be a doctor. We have princesses who are teachers. So even from the Princess Court, they are now spreading their wings. And I know that these girls are even going to go further, because of what they have gotten from the Princess Court and the way they have educated themselves and the experiences they have gotten. So I see great things for women in time to come. And Raquel, this is now a time when we see so many women in ministry and
Mhm.
pastoring with
Mhm.
churches. And you know what? When I see that, I say the majority of members in any average church is
Women.
about 80% women. And so
Mm.
when we have women leaders, women know women, and so they should be able to handle them. So I say kudos to the women, and I say keep going, keep going.
Yes, women, let's keep going, let's keep pushing, let's keep striving. And, it is said that the voting population in most countries, but even particularly here in rather in the Bahamas, is approximately 51%, but it's 51% represented at the decision making table. And so that's another very interesting and opening actually for more women to move toward in terms of making policies that
Yes.
help direct our country as a whole. And so, what would you say to your future self? 20 years from now, what would you be saying to your future self as you take a look at where we are now and 20 years from now, perhaps?
If I look at myself from 20 years from now, I probably would say, now, Stephanie, did you do enough? I always wonder, Raquel, if I am doing enough to make enough impact on the girls, on the women in my church, on my own children, and in the workplace. Am I making an impact? And even if I am making an impact, what kind of impact I am making? So I now have decided if anybody say, how you doing? I'm going to say salty because I want to be like the salt. And so
How do
you
you?
know when you would always know when salt was there. It will
Mhm.
influence, it will penetrate, and it's obvious. And so when I am there, I want to be a salt for God. And everybody would
Amen.
know that. Stephanie had passed that way before.
That is a wonderful thing. And so I will adapt that a little bit. So, because, there's other connotation nowadays, when we say she was a little salty. No, I'll accept that. Yeah, I was salty. That means I was there.
Right, right, right.
But something, we specifically spoke about the Princess Court, but your community work does not end there. And I know there's Marriage Matters,
That's right.
and with you and your husband, where you explain, tell us about Marriage Matters.
Okay. Well, my husband is really, he has his PhD in family counseling. And so, being his spouse, I also have a degree in counseling. And so, we have a heart. God has called us to families. And so, we
Mhm,
have a ministry called Marriage Matters, where
mhm,
we counsel and mentor young couples, and we counsel premarital,
mhm,
pre-divorce, because a lot of people need help when they are thinking about divorce or even going through divorce.
mhm.
Grief counseling, rebellious children. I see a lot of girls whose mom would, right now, Raquel, I don't really like it because some moms would say to me, I always tell my girl, I'm going to call Sister Steph, so, so I'm
Well,
not,
let's put it like this: it's an accountability partner.
I
Let's put it
guess,
like
yeah, that's a good way to look at it. But I don't want the girls to be feeling, oh, when I see her, I have to be so careful. But anyway, if that gets the work done or get them to fall in line, then that is okay. And so we have Marriage Matters, and Raquel, starting next year, I will be doing Marriage Matters mentoring because I'm finding now that there are young girls or young women, I should say, who are newly married and need to navigate themselves into this new covenant. And some
that.
of them, Raquel, did not have a good example growing up, did not
Yeah.
see a good example, did not live in a good example. And so
Mhm,
now, what are their thoughts? How are they going to work this marriage covenant now that they have left mother and father and have to cleave to their
mhm,
spouse? And I
mhm,
think right now we are having a problem learning how to cleave, leave and cleave. And I also worked with the PACE Center.
okay.
That's the school for pregnant young girls. And
Uh-huh.
Raquel, I learned so much from those girls because I found out through going to Play Center even more so that I was a sheltered child. My both parents were married, both parents were Christians, ministers in the church. Both parents, all of the children had the same last name. I didn't know about any divorce in my family. And when I went to Play Center and just learned those girls, and even at the Princess Court, when I speak with those girls to hear some of the situations and circumstances that they are in, my heart really goes out for them. And I always let them know that I am here for you. No matter what, I will try to help you as best I can. Raquel, the other day I saw two of the girls just in town. And so I said to them, aren't you in the college? I knew you graduated, but why you just look like you all are not in the... They said, we were in the college, but our classes, we got locked out. And I was like, you got locked out? Why? They said that we did not have the finances. And so we both were put out. And I'm like, but you just started. And I couldn't let that finish like that. I went straight home to speak with my husband. And I found out how much more they owed to get those girls re-registered back into the college. I cannot imagine these days going on without some education.
Wow.
So I had to do something, and all the girls know. Some would come and talk about a boyfriend or any situation they're having at home, and I am there for them. There for them.
Well, well, you are simply amazing. I know you have been a reservoir for me to draw from on a number of occasions. We don't get to sit and chat as often as we used to before, but I know your doors is always open when I call and once you're available. And so, and I can say that for anyone. If you need someone to talk to, she takes the time out of a very, very, very busy schedule between ministering, like I said, being a wife, being a mother, and now a grandmother, a
Yes,
business, a church, and
yes,
ministries and
yes,
family.
yes,
She
yes.
still finds the time
And a
to,
husband, a pastor.
a husband who's a pastor, she still
Aging
finds the time to give back into the community.
my
And
aging
so
dad, still trying to
Grand Bahama is blessed to
yes.
have Stephanie Burrows as a part of our community and for what you are doing. And so we want you to know that we salute you, we celebrate you, and all the work that you continue to do. And we just say thank you for taking this time to share with us today. I don't know if you have any last words that you want to share before you leave.
Yes, I'd
Before we
like
sign
to.
off. Go ahead.
Thank you very much. Really like to say thank you for the sponsors of the Princess Court, because without them, we probably wouldn't be able to do what we do with our girls.
Mhm.
Also, I'd like to say thank you to the leading ladies. They are just gifted Christian women who volunteer their time on a Saturday to come to mentor those girls. And
Mhm.
the good thing about it is a mother may come and drop off her girl, but when she see 200 girls, she's like, well, what can I do? And sometimes I just say, could you just man the bathroom for me? Or just man the door, or make sure none of the girls are on the outside. Just be a security, you know? And so I really appreciate those ladies, because without the 45 ladies that show up on a Saturday morning, well, that's a blessing to be
Yeah,
able to 45
yeah.
ladies work alongside you. A lot of people can't find helpers or people to assist, but those ladies are there with me. And we also now have some genuine gentlemen, we call them, men who would come out and help with the security and help with the heavy lifting. So I really want to say thank you to them, to our pastor who believe in us, who is also there with us every step of the way. And we also always have a good time at our pledging ceremonies. That is the climax of the Princess Court, where we give pearls free of charge to our princesses at the pledging ceremonies to give them a reminder. It's a Princess Purity Pearl, one string, as a reminder to say, you have pledged to stay pure until marriage.
Wow. Well, we say thank you to all of them as well, because as a community, we benefit from their giving. And so we are indeed thankful and grateful for all of your partners to the Princess Court Ministries and in all that you do here in Grand Bahama. Those who support you, we say thank you as well. And so that's our trip here on Grand Bahama Island, all the way in the north. And we're just so grateful that we had an opportunity to speak to Minister Stephanie Burrows and hear a little bit more about her work and her work here in Grand Bahama Island, where she is making a significant impact through the Princess Court Ministries. And so we say to our viewers, thank you for joining us on behalf of the National Women's Advisory Council of the Bahamas and the Department of Gender and Family Affairs. We thank you for tuning in today to RBN TV, where we are spotlighting the women from around the Bahamas and their work here in the Bahamas. And so thank you. And stay tuned for another stop on another island. Don't forget to go and like our Facebook page, National Women's Advisory Council, NWAC, where we have a special campaign that's going on called Sheroes. We want you to nominate and vote for your Shero from your island, from your community, women you know who are making a significant impact here in the island. And so don't forget, that's the Facebook page of NWAC, National Women's Advisory Council. Go and nominate and vote for your Shero as we celebrate National Women's Week.
Thank you for tuning in to RBN TV, your Bahamian-inspired and globally focused YouTube channel, where we are empowering lives and transforming communities. Stay connected to us through our Facebook page, Instagram page, or here on YouTube. Thank you once again for joining us, and see you again real soon. God bless.